So in the previous class, we talked about how to handle arrays using pointers, and we also tried to pass uh, an array to a function using a pointer, right? And someone asked me the question whether we can calculate the size of the passed array in the function instead of explicitly passing it. So if we can calculate the size or the number of elements in an array within a function instead of passing the value, as it appears that is not possible, because offhand I could not find a way by which it can be done. So it's better to pass the size of an array, because when you are passing this, so when you are doing this, say so you're calling this function find max array, and you are passing a, which means you are basically passing ampersand a0, that is the address of the first element. So you are not giving any information about the remaining elements of the array, right? So naturally the function, so by this local variable array, the function can only point to the starting address of the array. So if you don't tell the pointer how many elements are there in the array, so as it appears there is no obvious way of figuring this out with regard to the compiler. So the compiler is dependent on this information to reach the other elements of the array. So this was it. So today we will talk about how to handle a two-dimensional array, or basically a matrix. A matrix of two dimension. So I am not going to go beyond the second dimension, because that is automatically generalizable, and that will add to the complications of pointers, because this is this is not a course on pointers alone. So I need to touch upon other things. But if I get time at the end of this course, towards the end of this course, maybe I can touch upon some more concepts and pointers. So for now, let's focus on this example. So this is a two-dimensional array, right? Int a 2 3. So there are 2 rows and 3 columns, right? And I'm trying to access this both as a matrix and also as a pointer. Then I am trying to access the elements of this matrix using a pointer, or pointers of different type. So the program which I wrote initially is far more complicated than what I intended it to be. So let's look at it. But I will skip the portions of more complexity. Relatively more complexity. I will cover the basics. So this is the a matrix, as you can see, and so this is fairly a standard way of printing the elements of a matrix, right? Using a nested loop. Nested and for loops are there. So this this is the variable which contains uh, the values of the rows. So this is the number of rows. So number of rows is 2, number of columns is 3, right? So I'm printing the elements, and I'm also printing the addresses. So same thing, I just the difference is there is an ampersand here. Now sorry, I'm not too well today anyway. So okay, so there is going to be an interesting revelation. So let's run this code and we will find that out. So as I am running it, you can see here I am printing the elements of the array. So this part is okay, right? This is fairly trivial. 561,297. So it is printing what? Sorry, maybe I put it, bring it here. So 561 and 297. These are getting printed. Then I am printing the addresses of the same elements. So this is the address. This is the address of 5. This is the address of 6. Like this. So this is 2 cross 3 matrix, so 2 rows and 3 columns. Now pay a careful attention to the addresses, basically the starting addresses of each element of the array. So this is 2358800. This is the starting address of 5, and this is the starting address of 6. So naturally, you see that the next element is at a distance of 4 bytes because this is an integer type of array. But you see that in a linear array, that is basically a one-dimensional array, we saw that the memory locations are contiguous, right? So that's what we have been doing in the previous classes. So if I can go back, yeah, this one, right? So they are in contiguous memory location. So if this is 1000, then the next one is at 1004, next one is at 1008, like this. So what about a two-dimensional array? How exactly is a two-dimensional array or a matrix is stored in the memory location, right? That is a question which we are, looking to address. So you say that in two-dimensional array also, the memory address, the memory addresses of the elements are basically contiguous. And more interestingly, you see that if you look at the addresses of the elements, so we already looked at 5 and 6, right? So this is 1. This is for 1. What about 2? So this is at the second row, or basically the 1th row. If we start with 0, so 0 is the index of the first row. This is 1 is the index of the second row. If you look at the address of the element, basically the first element of the second row, you see that this is contiguous to the last element of the previous row. So after 1, 2 is basically allocated in the memory. Can you say this? See, this is 8823588808. So this is 2358812, right? This is 1620. So it means, so as it appears, the addresses of an array, addresses of the elements of the array are also contiguous. So the structure which we are imposing, what structure? Basically the two-dimensional structure is the one which is imposed by us. But for the compiler, the allocation is contiguous. So it is no different from one-dimensional array, except that it has this structural property that we have the notion of rows and columns. But memory allocation wise, this is contiguous. So as of this compiler, it is like this. Okay. So given this assumption, if we have the starting address of this element, can we reach this element? Provided we know the number of rows and columns. The answer is yes, right? We can do that. So let's see how we can do that. So before that, let's look at some notations. So if A, so A is basically here, A is basically ampersand A00. Okay, A is a starting address of the array of this matrix. So this is a starting address of the first element of the array, right? Okay, so A plus I basically is the address of the ith row. So A is the address of the basically the 0th row, and so A basically here star A plus I is the address of the first element of ith row. So these are at address level similar, but at interpretation level they are slightly different. So this is the starting address of the matrix. So this coincides with the starting address of the first element of the ith row. Okay, so don't ask me why, because this is the way it is. It is the way it is done. And this is the address of the jth element of the ith row. So this is basically ampersand Aij, and this is Aij. So since it is a two-dimensional array, it's a two-dimensional array. So this is a, matrix, basically a 2D matrix. So this is the way to access the element ij. So this is star a plus I plus j, then star of the whole thing. So this is the notation. This is the way it is done. So let's see the code. Okay, so shall we look at this? Yes, maybe. Okay, so have a look at this. Ampersand A00 and ampersand A10. So this is a pointer to the 0th row, and this is the pointer to the 1th row, the first row. So pointer to the 0th row, this is what? 0th row and first row. Ampersand A00, ampersand A10. So this is 800, right? So this one. And first row, so ampersand what? Ampersand A10. Ampersand A10 is this one, right? 812. There is another way of doing it. Star A. So what will happen if I put A? So this is same, right? So basically, it is the starting address of the first element of the so basically this is the starting address of the first element of the, so basically the first element, and this is the starting address of the first element of the second row. So that's what it is, right? So 0, 0 and 1, 2. So A is a pointer of basically the first row, and you can, if you do +1, then it moves on to the next row. So for one-dimensional array, if we do +1, then it moves to the next element, right? But this is of the second dimension. So if we do +1, we are moving to the second row itself. So by doing +1, you see that, you see here. So if I can put numbers here, that will be easy to follow. All right. Yeah. So 1, 2. We are at 2, right? So 1 and A plus 1. So A and A plus 1. So in 1, so this is the first element of the. So this is the first element of the first row, and this is the first element of the second row. We do the same thing here. So we do ampersand 0, 1. That is the second. That is the second element of the first row and the second element of the second row. So 3, right? So this is 0, 1. So this is 0, 1, 6, right? So this is 0, 4. And what is the next one? 1, 1. So it's written here, right? 1, 1. So 1, 1 is this one. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 1, 1. So the address is 16, right? So the address is 16 here. Then we can do 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 0. So now I am using the pointer notation. Star A plus 0. So this stands for I, this stands for j. So this is basically the address of I. So basically the address of A00. This is address of A01. This is the address of A02. Right. So this 4, 5, 6, right? 0, 0, 1, 0. This is the address, right? 01, 01, 804 and 11, 816. And finally 0212. That's what we are doing, right? 0212. So 0012. So it is 02 and 12. Right. So this is the way we can access the addresses of the elements. And finally, since it is a two-dimensional array, so the pointer needs to reach the second dimension also. So basically we need two stars. Two stars are required. So here by the notation star a plus 0 and the whole is preceded by a star. This means this is the address, this is the value of A00. We can check here. So this is 00525 and 10 is 2, 01 is 6, 11 is 9 and 02 is 7. Sorry, 002 is 1, 012, right, and 12 is 7. So just remember this convention. So this is the convention. This I am following. This is what I am following. This is the way you have to do it using a pointer. And what is getting done internally? We have the starting address of A, right? So that is pointing to the first element. Plus 0 means it is going to the so it is going to this, I mean basically the 0th row. Or basically if we do this, it is going to the 1th row, right? And star is required to reach the address of this part. So I mean that's the convention. Plus 2 means we are moving from the starting address of the 1th row to the second element, the 2th element. So without this it would have been this, right? So the first element, second element, third element, and if you get a star, if you put a star, you will get the value of it. So there's nothing to be confused. Just keep this convention in your mind. So it is easy to do this kind of calculations, but this is the convention. So this is the notation which is followed for a two-dimensional array. I'm not going into the three dimension, but I'm sure you will be able to figure it out. So there will be another star here. So let's not go there for the timing. Let's I mean be content with this one. So we can print we can print all the elements using this notation. So basically here I am printing A1 Aij. So using A in a pointer form. So this is basically the using A in pointer form. So this is the part, right? So I am printing 561297. That was our point. That was our array, right? Oh God, this keeps on happening. Oh. All right. Yeah. So we have printed it in pointer form. That's the way it is. And there are other ways of doing it, but before doing that, so before going there, so one primary reason why we are doing all these things. So yeah, one primary reason why we are doing all this is we want to pass the matrix to a function, right? So let's look at such a function. So this is the function which I'm talking about. So here I have passed A. If you can see at the bottom, A is the same matrix. So basically I'm passing the starting address of the first element of the array. So this is the function. So by this you can get the starting address of the first element of the array, and by using this convention you can access all the elements of the array. So the same, so but this is something different from what we did, right? So this won't work here. If we run this, yeah, this won't work here. You have to use a different convention, because like what we did in the last class, we saw that after you're passing the starting address, the compiler doesn't know that it is a matrix. So it takes it as the starting address, and from there it is trying to calculate the other elements of that of the matrix like a uh, one-dimensional array. So what it is doing, so imagine, so you have the starting address of a one-dimensional array. So how do you reach the ijth element? So if you look at this, we have this address already, right? We have this address. So how do you reach the ijth element? So ij can be anything, right? So if you want to reach this element, so this is the this is the 1th element of the 1th row, right? So in order to do that, you have to multiply 1 by the column number. So this is 1 and this is 1. So basically from A, you have to do this calculation. So what is this calculation? So this is, so when you do A plus J, so J is here 1, right? So when you do A plus J, you are coming to this point, because A is pointing to the first element, and it is pointing to the first row. When you do A plus J, that is A plus 1, you are coming here, and plus what you are doing, plus you are doing 1, because C is 1 here, right? So C is running from 0 to 1. So because no, sorry, C is running from 0 to 2, right? Because there are 3 columns. So here C is 1. So from there, from 0, you are going to 1. So this is the convention. So this, by doing this, you will be able to access element Aij, basically the value of Aij. So yeah, you already can see the results, right? So we are in function display. Okay, we are in function display. See, you can print this 561297. That was our array, right? That was our basically 561297. That was our matrix that we are printing here, right? What will happen if we do this? What was I supposed to do? I was planning to do something here, so let me see. Okay, I was printing the address also. So you can, so without the star it is the address, with the star it is the value. So I was doing that. So this is 800, 804, 808, and 12, 16, and 20, right? This is exactly what we had in the array. 800, 804, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So we are able to access the address of the elements and also the values. So I think so I think this is complicated enough. Maybe okay. So so I will tell you about. Sorry. You have to go through it to for the to get a good grasp of the concept. So there are many more things that you can do with a pointer. There is another notation. So this means, so within first bracket, that is star, and there's a 3, which means pointer to an array of 3 integers. So this is a bit complicated. So let me show you how it works. And it may not work in all the compilers, I'm not sure. So this is the thing. So this is what? This is pointer to an array of 3 integers. So this is a pointer. So this is not an array of pointers. This is a pointer to an array of 3 integers. So how is this going to be useful? Here it is going to be useful. If you pass a here in display 1, if you pass a, so it is accepted by P. So this basically points to the first row only, right? So I have to take another pointer, that is Q, and Q can be assigned this particular value. So P is pointing to the first row. Okay, and so we are in the first row, and the elements of the first row can be accessed by this. So this is basically pointing to the first row only. So this is as good as an array. So it considers the first row as an array. So it doesn't consider second row as yet. So P plus, initially it is I, right? So Q plus J here means basically the jth element, I mean the jth column of the first row. So which is in this case the 0th row. So this will access all the elements here one by one. Then we do Q equals to P plus I. That is, the pointer goes to the second row. Pointer goes to the second row, and then by doing this we are able to access the elements. So we are in display this, right? 561297. This is a bit complicated. It's okay if you don't get it right now, but this is good to know this. I mean to basically know the meaning of this expression. So this is a pointer to an array of 3 integers, but a big disadvantage of this notation is that you need to know that the number of columns in the matrix is 3. So that is not going to happen in general. So it is better to use this. This is much more generic. So you don't need to know the number of columns or rows in advance to be able to do this. You only need to pass the number of rows and number of columns, and this is going to work. That's all. But this is a very tricky thing, which is sometimes asked in interviews. So the meaning of this. So this is usually confused with something else. I will show you what that something else is. Here, right? Is it here or somewhere else? Let me see. Array of pointers. Array of pointers. Ah, right. Yes, I got it. I was working with it last day. Yeah. So this is usually confused with this notation. So did it open? I don't think. So pointers are a bit confusing. So don't lose your confidence if you don't get it right now. Just go through the lectures and try to grasp as much as you can, because I'm not going to set difficult questions on this. So there will be only, I think, one question on pointers, and that will be very easy. So I will not ask you to solve pointer puzzles, but since I am covering pointers, it is very important for you to know the concept. At least if you want to know more about pointers, I mean later on you can get back to this course, and then if you do the refreshing, then it will be easier. So I was talking about this notation, right? So this is, so this again, this is a pointer, this is one pointer to an array of 3 integers. So this is like this. So have a look at this. So there is so what was there in the previous instance, this was put, right? So this is and this is a pointer pointing to an array of 3 integers. So without this, it is an array of 3 pointers. Can you see the difference? Difference is immense. You see that here it is only one pointer, but pointing to an array of 3 integers. But here there are 3 pointers. It is an array. So if I did not put this is an array of 3 integers, right? If I put this, so it is basically means int star is a data type, and after that you have put this. So int star is a data type, and p3 means it is an array of 3. I mean int star type of variables. So it is an array of 3 pointers. So what can I do with that? So at p0, so since p0, p1 and p2 are pointers to integers, so they can point to 3 integers. So p0 can point to ampersand a, p1 can point to ampersand b, and p2 can point to ampersand c, because a, b, c are integers. And we can print their addresses and values. So how can we print the addresses? p0 contains the address, right? So how do we get the value? If we can put a star here, what would that mean? The star and ampersand will cancel out. So by putting a star, you will get a. A is integer. So let's run this code. That's what we are getting, right? So this address is allocated by the compiler. So this is at 282. So you said these are not contiguous. So 28, 24, and then 20. So since this is this is not an array. And 5, 6, 7 are the values at this addresses. So these are basically the values of A, B, and C, right? Right. But what if I do this? What if I do this? Can anyone tell me what is happening here? What is the meaning of this? Can you tell me? Anyone, can you tell me what is ampersand pi? Yes, that's a question for you.
It is the address where the pointer is stored.
Yes, very good. So it doesn't matter whether p is pointer or not, because it is a variable at the end of the day, right? So it is a special kind of variable. Since it is a variable, some memory will be there for the variable itself, that is a pointer. So pi is a variable, so there should be some memory allocation for it. So I'm printing the address of pi. So it has no connection with A, B, and C as of now. Initially, when we did this, there was no connection between A, B, and C. I created the connection later on by these operations. But ampersand pi would mean that this is the address of the pointer type of variable. So, but this is an array. This is a pointer type array. Can you see? Can you see that the allocations are contiguous now? So this is ampersand p0, right? 32. Then p1 is 40. So you see that though pointers are in most of the compilers unsigned int, it is in 64-bit machines, the size of a pointer type of variable is 8 bytes. Okay. In 32-bit machines, I think it is 4, but this is a 64-bit machine in which I am working. So it is 8 bytes. So that is it is getting incremented by 8 bytes. So 8 byte is also for, I mean, long double, no, sorry, double, only double. So that's why it is contiguous, right? But if I remove this ampersand, it means it is a value of pi. It is a value of pi. So what is the value of pi? So how did what did I put in pi? It is the address. So there are two addresses associated with it. One address is the address of this variable itself, and since it is a pointer type, it is capable of storing the address of an integer. So it stores the address of another variable. So it is the address of another variable to which it is pointing. So in this case, for P0 it is A, for P1 it is B, and P2 it is C. Right. So please make this distinction clear, and it is very easy. I mean, it's so if you are doing for the first time, you may get confused, but it is not confusing at all. So it's just not as difficult as one would think at the first look of it. Okay, so we will, I mean, revise this, but I have, I mean, skipped some portions which are a bit more complicated, but I will cover that if I get time later on. But for now, I mean, it is not that important to know everything. So no one can know everything at one point of time, right? Because I mean, before digesting the material which is already inputted, right? Otherwise, there will be an indigestion. So I don't want to, I want that to be done. I don't want that to happen, sorry. Yeah. So here is a function which, I mean, reverses a string. So this we did in the previous class, but a different variant, right? So I am passing Kripa. I mean that is not me. I mean, that's my name. So if I get reverse, I don't know what is going to happen. So I am passing my name, and I am passing a copy. An array here. So what is the purpose? I am writing a function myself, xstrcopy, to copy name into this variable copy. So that's why I am passing this variable also here. Now see that, so I mean, there is nothing in the program, so it is basically copying character wise. So I'm doing this character wise copy. If you can look at this code, what this means is, what is this actually? So what did I pass here? String, right? So that is basically name, this variable. So this variable, so ampersand name0 is basically passed. So we have the starting address of the string, and we don't need to pass the length of the string, because as I told you in the previous class, we know that the compiler has put an ampersand 0 at the end of it, and we need to look for that. When you have reached ampersand, sorry, it's not ampersand, \0, we automatically would know that the string has ended. So that's why we are not passing the size of the string, or basically the length of the string. So here, so this is ampersand string 0, right? So basically this is ampersand name 0. So here it is, I mean, basically the local copy is string. So this is ampersand string 0, and if you put a star, what are you getting? String 0, right? So that is the first character. And if you do a plus plus here, so string is a character type of pointer. So if you do plus plus, it will move to the next character. So it is moved by 1 byte, because character is of size 1 byte. So by doing this, you are gradually moving to the next element. Right. Now, if we can run the code. Copy of Kripa is Kripa. So it is getting copied. So it is printing name and copy. So you see that after I pass this, the name is not getting changed. So name is Kripa and the copy is also Kripa. So why it is not getting changed? Although I mean incrementing the pointer by 1. So this is pointing to the first address, right? Why it is not getting changed? Can anyone tell me? So I'm passing the starting address of the string and I'm incrementing this. I mean, still the string has not changed. Why? That's no. I'm not reversing it. Sorry. So I am actually, I mean, copying. So I'm not reversing it. I'm copying string to copy, right? But this string contains a starting address of name, but this is a local copy, right? So this string is getting incremented, not name. So I am passing the starting address of name. So then I'm not changing name, right? So this contains the starting address of name and the starting address gets copied here and I'm incrementing that. So basically whatever, so now at the end, I mean, string will point to the last character, but name is basically unchanged. And by star copy, what I am doing, what is a star copy? This is basically the first character of copy, and this is the first character of string. So character wise, it is getting copied. And at the end, star copy, I'm putting ampersand 0, which means that, so when will this stop? This will stop when you reach the last character, right? So now we are pointing at the last character. So basically one character after the last character. So this will happen after we have read the A of Kripa. So we are pointing at the sixth element, which is basically null. So I mean garbage value, and that is getting replaced by ampersand 0. So this completes the copy. So there is no problem in that. But here I have put a constant, const. Why I have done that? Because I don't want the original string to be changed accidentally. So this is, I mean, this is not very important here because, I mean, in this case, we are not changing the original string. We are not basically, I mean, replacing the original string by anything. So this is a convention which is typically followed. So uh, let's look at the different uh, notions of constant. So constant is a data type which is, so sorry, this is, constant is a qualifier which is put before data types. So it has different value, I mean different, connotations. So if we put a constant here, it means that it is pointing to a, so it is a pointer to a constant variable. What does that mean? So it would mean that if you do this, so this is a pointer, right? And it is pointing to 1. Sorry, I. PTR equals to ampersand I. This is okay. But since it is pointing to a constant, you cannot change the value of I. So this is basically I, right? But you can do this. You can point to a different location, but once you point to a location, you cannot change its value. By constant, it means, so it doesn't matter where you put the constant. So you have to put the constant before star. So whether you put it before this int or after this int, it doesn't matter. But it means that you can point to an integer type of variable, but you cannot change its value. So if you look at this part, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So this is const integer star ptr, right? And this is I is integer. So I have put ptr ampersand I, and I am printing star ptr. So that will print 5, right? That will print 5. Okay, this is okay. But this is not allowed. We cannot do this. We cannot do this because it is pointing to a constant. But you can change ptr equals to ampersand j. So that's a different variable. You can change the you can change the address, but once you are pointing at an address, you cannot change it, change the value. So here after this, I have now I am pointing to j, right? So j has a value of 10. So now it is printing 10, right? Sorry, where did it go? Yeah. And but if you do this, if you move constant after star, it means that it is a constant pointer, which would mean that you once you have initialized the pointer to an address, you cannot change it anymore. So if you cannot point somewhere else, but you can change the value. That's the difference. So here, so this is pointed to a variable. So after star there is constant. So it is ampersand I, right? So here, so once you have pointed here, you cannot point somewhere else, but of course you can change its value. So that's what has been done, right? So this is q. So q is 5 and then q is 99. So initially q was 5, right? Q was I was 5, right? So it pointed at 5 and then, but so in this case you cannot you can change its value, but you cannot point somewhere else. And if you put constant before and after, then once you have initialized, you cannot change anything. You cannot point somewhere else, and you cannot point to you cannot change its value either. So these are some trivia about pointer. So there is nothing much to worry about. You just I mean, go through this. This is just for, I mean, general knowledge and information, which is important when we are talking about pointers. So we have 4 minutes to go. Maybe we can do it in the next class. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about something which we discussed in the previous class, which is how you can explicitly allocate memory using pointers. So so here, so previously what did we do? Once you wrote int I equals to 5, it means that you are asking the compiler to give you a memory space corresponding to a variable of integer type. When you do int a10, then you are asking the compiler to give you a space for an array of integers of 10 elements, but you can ask for a particular space explicitly by using malloc. So if you look at this example, Yeah. Yeah. If you look at this example, I showed you this in the in the last class. So cat star is a buffer here. So I want to allocate 20 instances of this. So size of cat is 1 byte, 20 into 1 byte. That is, I want 20 bytes to be allocated, and and the starting address of the allocated memory location will point at buffer. And you can do anything you want. So with that buffer, so you can do strcpy, you can print this particular string. You can basically store this particular string into buffer, and you can print that value. And suppose in the runtime you think that you need more address, more bytes, you can do a realloc. So in realloc, it will increase the number of bytes, right? It will increase the number of bytes. So if you can run this, initially I allocated 20 bytes and I copied this string into buffer, and I printed this. Okay, so using malloc is a string. Then I realized that I want to store a bigger string. Then I basically realloc this. So what it will do is it will basically extend the number of bytes to 40, but the value here will not be changed. So initially after this, I print the value again. Value is still malloc. So this is the beauty of it. It will increase the bytes to 40 without tarnishing the value, and that will allow you to store a bigger string. So now I am copying a bigger string into buffer, and that I am printing. It is malloc and realloc. This is the string, and then I am freeing the memory. So maybe we can come back to this in the next class. It is just 1 minute to go, so maybe you can stop here.